conversations, real redemption, testimonies of grace, real stories, real people, faith that carried them through. When God turns a life around, He can make a way for you. Every story has a purpose, every voice can speak the truth. Real stories, real people, and God is not done with you.
Hey, good evening, good evening. Thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening for one more episode of Real Story, Real People. Episode 2. I'm Raymond Matthews. I'll be your host this evening. Real Story, Real People. A podcast about inspiring conversations about faith, purpose, perseverance, leadership, and real life transformation, featuring real people, real stories, real people who shares lessons of hope and resilience and the power of purpose. Hey, tonight we're bringing you our story all the way from the giving room, where compassion meets community. Without further ado, we're going to bring our guests on up. She's going to introduce herself from the giving room.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Jossie McNeil, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Giving Room. Oh, why can't I hear you?
The giving room. So, Jessica, just with our introduction, I'd like to jump right on in and ask the guests, tell us a little about yourself and what inspired you to start the giving room. I can't hear you. The mic on.
Why is it doing that? Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I've been with my husband for almost 40 years. We've been together since we were 12 and 14. We have three amazing kids. We grew up in New York City, Brooklyn, especially in Bushwick. And then we moved all around with our kids. And the giving room came from when my kids started having kids. I started taking care of their kids so that they can work and wouldn't have to send them to daycare. So fast forward 13 years, the youngest one that went to school, I found myself now like, what do I do? So throughout the years, I've always kind of dabbled. If I saw a mom in need, I would take it upon myself and just ask my Facebook friends for whatever it was that she needed, and then I would get it to her. So I would do that off and on, whenever I saw a mom, or like at Christmas time, I always did, like I'd collect toys for kids, or just throughout the years. So then I really, I found myself saying, what now? So I said, you know what, maybe I should just dive in and into my community and just really take it on head on and do it 24/7. And March of 2026, I decided, okay, let's give this a shot. And here we are.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. So, what was happening in your life when you realized the mission was needed?
Well, it's just, the times that we're in, times are hard for everyone, even for myself at times. So I see I'm in a lot of these mom groups because I was always the grandma who would take their grandkids to, the play groups. So I'm still in those groups. And I would see a lot of the moms in there, asking for trades. Hey, I have, I don't know, like a diaper genie. Would you trade it for diapers? And I kept seeing that a lot. So I was thinking, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to dive in and keep, continue to do what I was doing and try to do it on a larger scale.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Why are serving families so close to your heart?
Well, because, sorry, it's close to my heart because I was a teen mom. And although I never had to rely on strangers, it could have easily been me. So knowing that, there's so many young girls out there starting, I started at 18, 17, and had my first kid at 18, but at the same time, these moms have 2 and 3 kids at 18 and 19 years old. So I could just only imagine the struggles they go through. It was with one kid and you get nervous. So imagine having, you know, 3 kids in diapers. It's pretty scary.
Yes, 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 yes. So we appreciate you with that wonderful introduction. Don't forget, anyone listening out there, don't forget it's the giving room. It's the giving room. We give you all the details later on. So, so now we talk about the beginning where it all started. The giving room started in a spare bedroom. What
Yes.
did those days look like?
Well, we're not too far from them because, like I said, I started in March of 2026, and we're only like 3 months in, 4 months in. Um, it's still it's a little crazy because it's in my spare bedroom and in my garage, and my husband's like, what are we doing here? So it's like, so I'm in the process of trying to raise money to get into another space, or hopefully maybe a church. We're looking into churches and businesses who may have like an extra room they can, give, help us out with, and we'll help them with, try to have a collaboration or something going so we can get out of my spare bedroom and garage.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Did you ever imagine it would grow into a nonprofit serving this many families?
No, because when I first started it, I was like, I knew I wanted to be a 501c because I knew nobody would actually like touch me unless I had the 501c when it comes to sponsorships and even donors. They're not going to give you money if they can't get something in return. So
Right.
I knew I had to do that so that way I can seem legit to most of the people. So I did it, and I procrastinated, and when I wound up doing it, and I got it in 3 weeks, and it was wild, the process, how quickly it was. And now I started out by helping a few moms, and I put like a website together, and there's a form they fill out, and one evening I received 40 forms while I was at dinner in an hour. So, and that was a lot because typically in the beginning I was like picking up donations and dropping off all over Houston to the moms. And that got overwhelming, so I couldn't do that anymore. So now I try to give them time so they can come and pick up. But it grew immensely. I did not expect it at all. I get messages on all my platforms, and it's just like, oh, I heard the giving room, I heard you're helping, and I'm just like, wow, I'm excited and I'm scared at the same time because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be able to help all these moms. And we don't just do moms, we, a lot of them are moms, but we're not, we're open to single dads, grandparents, kinship, foster, whatever. It doesn't matter, we'll help anyone, but it just so happens to be moms. I can't hear you. Goodness. This is my fault. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I took away the mic. So, what was some of the biggest challenges you facing getting started? What, other than having that vision, having that desire to help, not knowing, like you said, that one night when so many response came in, what was
Hmm.
the biggest challenge in facing it in getting started?
The biggest challenge for me was just I felt like I couldn't get to everybody quick enough. It was just me for a long time. Even still, like I'm just getting my team going. So everything I did was just on me. So I felt like I was gonna like let them down. My husband would tell me, even if you help one mom, that's great. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to get over there and I gotta do this. I just wanted to be able to help everyone.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling of not having help or not having people to understand your mission. Like you say, it's grown and
Yeah.
grown. And again, that's why we're having these real stories, real people, so that the
Right.
word get around of what you're doing. It's an amazing thing. So as we think about the mission, and we
Hmm.
think about the mission, most of our listeners, they want to know what's the mission behind all this. What is the giving room and how does it work?
So basically, the giving room is my vision was to have my goal is to have a store where moms or dads or anyone can come in and get what they need, whether it's household goods, detergent, toys. If their kids need a bigger size, like I want to have a section for kids, for mom, just everything. If they need stuff for the kitchen, just be able to come in there and get what they need like once a month and completely free. Because if they go to Goodwill, just one shirt is going to cost them $4 or $5 and they can't do it. So when I give a mom a bundle, if she tells me she needs for a newborn, I will give her from newborn all the way to the child is in toddler sizes. And that's not including formula, diapers, wipes. Like I give them pretty much everything when it comes down to it. So I want to be able to have that store plus have like resources, as well, and training classes, just have like a one-stop, resource center where mom can just get what she needs, and there'll be things to better herself. On Tuesdays you could come and I'll have a friend who told me she would donate some hours to giving haircuts, or I have friends who do nails. So I want to just have like a one-stop, like a community center, but for like resources, and that helps.
Wow, that's great. So you talked about this a little bit, but we want to get the listeners to take this giving room thing and help you out and dive into it. You talked about who you serve, but what are some of the greatest needs you see? What are some of the greatest needs that you see that all families, we're not just talking about kids
Mhm.
like you say, but we want to let the listeners know so that they know the type of help you need.
It's basic essentials like diapers, wipes, toiletries for the babies, just socks, shoes, is literally the basic, all the essentials that they need. And that's what we try to do. We try to give them a little bit of everything so that they have a good start, because the need is immensely, like it's a huge need. Every time I talk to a mom, I feel bad because she's like, if I'm giving, like sometimes, I'll ask them on the phone, how many kids do you have? And sometimes I'll only have for like the newborn or the toddler, they'll have bigger kids needs. And I don't have all of that because of the lack of space that I have. I'm only able to accept certain things. So, and donors don't have all the time for bigger kids. So it's really hard. I have to give a mom for her kids, but then I don't have for her big kids. So that's a struggle for me, not being able to have everything that I can just, supply the whole family.
That's great, wonderful, exciting, exciting. So,
Yeah.
what families are struggling? What are basic necessaries like diapers, formulas, and clothing? Why is it so important that these struggling families get these needs?
Because then their kids won't, if they have to spend money on that, then it's probably taken away from food in some of these instances. I have moms who call me and they ask me for resources if I have like food stamps and those kind of things, and I'm just like, that is not what I do. But the need is there so much because these moms just really, really, they take away from one thing to get another. So if I have to go buy diapers and like wipes, well, then maybe we can't have that extra day of meat. You know what I mean? Like it's just a balance.
All about the mission. To each and every
Hmm.
one of you, listen. Again, we're going to give you the information for the giving room later on. Please tag, share, and like so that
Thank you.
someone may hear this story and want to reach out and help. That's what we are really all about. So we talk about making a difference. Like our
Mhm.
listeners to know all that you're doing, why it's so important to reach out, what the making a difference is. Can you share a story of a family whose life was impacted by the giving room? I'm sure you had
Absolutely.
several, but share one story so our listeners to know that someone was pleased and appreciated the giving room came on the scene.
Absolutely. I had one particular mom who left a DV situation and just packed her whole car with her daughter and just left and came here to live with a family member. And then I found her as well on a group. Her family member was asking for things, and I just took it upon myself to, connect with them and ask what they needed. I went on, and she was once she was pending her apartment, I was able to get her a full, like her whole her whole apartment furnished. She got a love seat. She got a Disney bed for her daughter. I was able to get her clothes. Um, Everything she basically needed for her daughter was donated, or and then I went and purchased some other things. And myself and my son, we even moved her into her apartment. And to this day, we're still friends because like I literally supplied her with almost everything she needed. Everything. And it
Hey,
was
I'm
a good
telling you, listen,
feeling.
see,
There's
that's the
no better feeling.
Hey, I'm telling you, listen, see, that's the giving room, giving back. That's showing you
Yes.
how she's making a difference. You better share this, tag this, and tell someone there's some good
Thank
stuff
you.
happening with the giving room. You need to listen to this. So, moving on to making that difference, what's one moment that remind you why this work matters? That feeling there was a lot there, but what was that moment that reminded you, I do this for that?
Well, it was not that long ago. I had a frustrated moment, and that happens with everything. So I was very like, not so much, I was frustrated and I was a little defeated. And then I had a mom come and, I was able to, at the time before I was a 501c, I was able to give her like a bassinet, a car seat, uh, just a bunch of things. And she had her baby with her. And then I thought to myself, like, the appreciation and the hug that she gave me was like, okay, this is why you're doing this. So, even though there's times where it's hard and you go through a lot of up and downs, but that moment, just seeing that mom, like, wow, you giving all this to me? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, for free? And I was like, yes. So those are the moments where it's like, it gives me life, like just to see the moms and just the appreciation on their faces is amazing.
Again, family, the giving room. Y'all better share this, tag this, like this. We making a difference with this one segment right here. As we get to the last question of making a difference, this the giving room. Y'all better tap in at the end. We'll have that information. How has serving others changed your life?
It just, before I started doing the giving room like 100%, I tried to go to work and I was like, okay, this is okay. But nothing gives me the goosebumps, the excitement of when I take my granddaughter with me and we picked up a load and she was so excited and we had the truck full and we were like high-fiving and she's like, Grandma, this is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, baby, this is what it's about. And just to think that that carload was going to help 4, 5, 6 moms, it's the only thing that ever gave me like enjoyment. And when it comes to like working and doing stuff other than my family, I just felt alive. And it's like, it just gives me so much joy.
Thank you, thank you. I know that's a great joy. I've been a
It is.
business
It's a
owner for
great
so
feeling.
long. I started out similar to the giving room, where you had that passion, you had
Hmm.
that desire, you even had that willpower that
Right.
it looks like a mountain that you can't reach sometimes. So
Hmm.
we continue to uplift you in there. Don't forget, if you're listening, the giving room making a difference. The giving room is making a difference. Now we're going to look at the giving room, talk about that leadership, the leadership behind the giving room.
Yeah.
As a nonprofit leader, you just said
Hmm.
it was hard. You knew it was going to be tough. What have you learned about leadership?
Wow. That you can't do it all by yourself. Being a leader is having other people help you and, delegating. And I'm building a team now. And I am so grateful for my girls because they just, like, because I was doing everything on my own. So now just having somebody to help me with the website or, just doing little things, it gives it, it frees me up to do all the other stuff I have to do because I would get down on myself. It's like, oh, you didn't get to do this. Or, if with my kids in the pool, I'm thinking, oh, I probably should be doing something else, and just the guilt. So learning to prioritize, and just compartmentalize things, that for me is like key.
That's a big key. I kind of understand that part. I'm gonna give you a free thing. So when I was coming along in business, thought I started out at a very young age, and a customer really gave me the book that changed everything. I give you this book. So it's a book by Michael Gerber called The
Hmm.
E-Myth. This book is just what you talked about. You can't be the
Really?
entrepreneur, you can't be the technician, and you can't be
Hmm.
the mechanic. And I know you found yourself in them early stages of, just like you said, trying to do it all. But this
Hmm.
book changed me because when I first turned that book on, I listened to it in auto, and you know the first thing it says? If you're
What?
running around your business with your head cut off, sell it, because you just said the key to part of being in leadership. You can't be
Yeah.
the entrepreneur because you're not going to go out and get too much more business because you're busy making the bags. You're busy putting everything together. You can't be the technician because you're busy putting
Exactly.
everything in the bag. You're going out buying the supplies. And you definitely can't be the mechanic because that means you making sure everything's steady tight. So we commend you, your girls, for helping you out as you
Yes.
continue to walk this role of the giving room. Our next big question is, you played this big part, you just shared on it. What has been your biggest lesson as the executive director behind this? I know it comes with challenge. I give you my story to help you boost yours. So I knew that I learned how to clean cars at an early age. I can remember when my dad cleaned the car with the white wheels with a brick. I say, this is what makes it. So I was excited about cleaning cars. I started
Hmm.
out as a transmission specialist. I didn't like the oil, so I went next door to the car wash. So, so what's your biggest lesson? See, my biggest lesson was I wanted to be in the car business. When I grew up, I knew it was barbershop, beauty salon, or something to do with cars. I knew that somewhere along the line it was going to be a job before I got to like we're doing now, helping people. So, what was your biggest lesson as you putting this together and everybody wondering, you serious about this? You putting your 100% into this? What about the 80% and the 20%? So tell us that biggest challenge.
I guess my biggest challenge is just probably getting people to take you serious and just, you know, I guess coming from a background, I don't have college, I don't have all that kind of stuff, but I have life. So just my thing was always just I'm constantly making sure people know that I'm professional. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. It's just, wow, that's a good question. Oh, my biggest challenge also, and just getting people to understand that helping is not always monetary. You can help with just cleaning out your closet. People always think, oh, she's gonna ask for money. No, just share a like a post, share it. That doesn't cost you anything. Getting people to join the cause and just take you seriously is pretty interesting.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Hey, you that got them closets that need to be clear out. The
Yes,
giving room is
everybody
taken.
does, right?
Everybody. That's why I had this dial in on it. You hit it on the nail. If you got a closet, you haven't wore that stuff in 10 to 13 months. It's time to get
Absolutely.
rid of it. Reach out to the
Definitely.
giving room. The information coming at the end, I promise you. I'm telling you, there's some good information. You have to be
Just
dialed in to see
even
this.
I always tell people all the time, even if you're not interested or it doesn't apply to you, but if you share it, you have a lot of friends. You never know, or even maybe one of your friends needs help. So you just never know by sharing a post. You're helping. That's helping, and it's free, and you don't have to do anything. And that's been a challenge.
And I'm telling each of you out there, it's free. Cleaning your
Yes,
closet out costs you nothing, but it can help a lot
exactly.
of people.
Yes, for
Hey,
sure.
so Janelle, on our last question of talking about this leadership, this kind of, you touched on it again because these pieces is what makes the giving room and other businesses grow because we have to tell ourselves that we're great. So how does you stay encouraged when that need seems overwhelmed?
My team. Thank God. Because, whenever we have our group chats, and if I say something, someone else will say just some pretty similar. And then it'll be like, okay. So just having the other opinions of someone helps me. So that to me is huge, very huge.
Team, y'all heard it.
Yes,
Team is important.
absolutely. Yes. And,
What
it
keeps
kind of
her
keeps
from
you
being
grounded.
overwhelmed? Team.
Yeah.
If you didn't get nothing from the day, you got teams keep you from being overwhelmed. The giving
It's
room, the
true.
giving room. Clean them closets out. Clean them closets out.
Yes.
As we move right along, appreciate each and every one of you that's taking time out of your day to listen to this episode 2. Don't forget, it's the giving room. We just need you to clean your closet out, cost you nothing. Reach
Right.
out at the end. So now we kicking right to the community. You just talked about it may help someone else. It may
Yes.
dial in to help a family, help a baby, help a
Hmm.
husband, help a mother, help anybody.
Right.
How can local communities make a greater impact on families in need? How, the same way you did it in Houston, how
Right.
can local communities make a greater impact on families in need?
I think it's also about taking the stigma away from it, because the people who are in need aren't just people who are lazy and don't want to work. A lot of the people I deal with are husband and wives working, a lot of single moms as well. But at the end of the day, it does, you hear of someone, needing help right away, you think they're a drug addict or something like that. It's not
Yes,
that. Because of our economy, it can be you tomorrow, it could be me tomorrow.
yes.
So we need to get the stigma out of it so that people don't feel embarrassed to ask for help.
Wow.
That's the thing. I make sure, like, the giving room for me is about parents or whomever is asking for the help, that they feel comfortable, they feel, they're not talked down to. And it's important, that they have a space that they can come to where, they know no one's going to judge them.
Yes, that's so important. So when you think about that, make sure that y'all dial in because that's very important when you
Mhm.
talk about the community. What role do volunteers or donor play in your mission? You talked
Oh,
about your daughters. What role do the volunteers play?
well, the volunteers, I wouldn't be able to do anything because my team, they're volunteers. So the giving room would not be able to grow without volunteers. There's just no way. The volunteers is what makes it happen, and the donors, there would be no giving room without the donors, because the way I would get stuff, I'd go on Facebook Marketplace, and if I saw somebody was selling, a baby bundle for $100, I'd be like, okay, I'd send them, my little spiel of, okay, if you want to keep it and you need it, that's fine. But if you don't really need this money, would you donate it to me? And that's how I got the bulk of all my stuff. So because it's not for me, I don't have no problem asking. And I got a lot of pushback too from some people telling me how dare I and things like that. So I was just like, okay. But without the donors, there's no way I wouldn't be able to do any of it, because we get everything through donation. So they're the heart of the giving room.
That's it, the heart. I know y'all listening out there. That closet need to be cleaned out. The
Yes, you don't
giving
need all
room
those
needs you.
shoes.
So you touched on this a little bit, and I always use this as a scenario. Don't nobody take it personal, just a scenario. So you talked about the donors and the volunteers. What are some of the misconceptions people have about families who need assistance? You just touched on it where
Yeah.
people thought it was against us. Like I tell people, the person standing on the corner when we run by the red light and asking for $1. I always say this is just me, not nobody else. I say they know how to work because they're up on their corner every day. So what is some of the misconceptions that
Well,
people
yeah,
have
you're right.
about
I did
families
touch
in
on it a
need?
little bit. It just seems that everybody tends to think that if, you don't work and you're lazy and you live in the hood. I've been to nice places where people need help as well, because it can be anyone. They think, if it's a nice neighborhood or whatever. No, because the misconception is that you think it can't happen to you, but it could happen to you. It
Yes.
just takes one, life altering thing, and you're done. You'll need help too. So it's always good not to judge.
Yes. Say that loud. I don't think they heard you.
Yeah, let's not judge, because you just never know what, it could possibly be you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for all them great information. Now it's the easy part now because it's the personal behind it. You
Yeah.
know, I always use me as an example. I tell people I knew how to clean car. I know I'm the best. I tell most people that I deal with, I'm the Michael Jordan of the car wash. So,
Oh, nice.
in your personal, what motivates you to keep going in them difficult days? What motivates you to keep going?
It motivates me. One is the moms, like I said, just I'll be frustrated and I'll get some text, and when they leave here, they send me the text messages. Oh my God, I so appreciate you. You're doing an awesome, and just that affirmation from them is so huge. And just yesterday, my grandkids were like, "So, Grandma, are we gonna, take over the giving room? And is she gonna get it or am I gonna get it?" I was like, "Listen."
Yes.
So they're my motivation because they're looking to me. I was a housewife most of my life. I worked at times when we needed to. My husband's like, "All right, you got to go to work." Okay, so I would. But for the most part, I was home with my kids. So to have my grandkids looking up at me because, he literally told me, "Grandma, you just started this as just a little thing to help. And now you got like this big
Yes.
old business going and you're like doing a podcast." So he was so excited about that.
Yes.
So they keep me
That's
going.
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So I had that same mind frame maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I I work, so I tell people without Gen Zs, listen, all you Gen Zs out there, we got away from the work mentality. So I created just like you did with your grandkids. Say, Grandma, you got all. I created kids books of auto detailing, kids coloring books. So
Cool.
along with creating them coloring books, I started turning the TV on, and all of the Gen Zs is getting 30 to 40, doing can guns at school, doing different stuff. So I say, Ray, you got to do something different. So that's how we got to this real story. Real people is about making a U-turn because someone needs stories. Someone need to know about the giving room. Someone need to
Yes.
know I'm taking the stuff down to the Goodwill yellow bins or brown bins or whatever bins in your neighborhood, but give it to
Mhm.
someone that can show you what they're doing with it. Give it to
Right. Because
someone
they're gonna
that
sell it, and half
right,
the time the people in the community can't buy them.
right. So again, the giving room, the giving room. I don't get paid for doing this. I just love good stories. That's why we call them real stories, real people. So along with that, that personal, that personal.
Mhm.
Who had inspired or mentored you along your journey? Who inspired you and mentored you along your journey?
Well, I didn't have like one mentor per se, but I would just see other people like doing good deeds, and that always inspired me. I was like, wow, if they could do that, I can do it. And I would, whenever I did do it, here and there, it would just give me this energy. And I don't know why I never kept it going, but I felt alive whenever I did it. So yeah, like I would just see other people. I don't, I've never had one specific person, but yeah, it's just like seeing other groups, or if I see friends, giving back to the community. I'm like, that's awesome because I love that.
That's great. That was a great mentor. See, I'm a hard worker, like I said. What got me to it? I used to when I first got my first job knocking on doors selling candy. Bless my mother, Lord, she told me every dollar you bring home, I'm gonna give you
Wow.
$2. To this
Okay.
day, I never look back. That's what inspired me because I knew if I bought home $3, I'm gonna get two
That's
more
good.
added to
There you
it.
go.
So again, don't forget out there if you're listening to this podcast now or later, the giving room needs them closets. I'm gonna keep saying that till y'all clean them out. So it brings me to my last question about how you had your personal stamp on the giving room. How do you balance ministry, leadership, family, self-care? How do you balance? Very
Eh,
important. How do you balance?
yeah, it's very important, but I'm not very good at it. But uh I'm trying. I make sure that like I balance by having my grandkids, and we have pool days, and then there's other times where I make sure and I go and I do my nails and my hair, those kind of things, because I know there's days that I'm going to be going crazy. So I try not to feel guilty about doing those things, but we're working on that. We're working on that.
And that's it. I'm telling you, if you're not listening, if you listen now and later, balances is very important. You just heard the story from the giving room. My balance was a little different. I became a workaholic probably from the age of 16, 17, just working. All I knew was work. If you
Right.
ask my sons today about work, they're going to say, do you know who my dad is? But in January 2nd, I wound up having triple bypass heart surgery from
Oh,
just
wow.
eating bad. For all them years, I was just working. We talking
Yeah.
about balanced lifestyle. We talking about self-care out there. I was just working. So what I would do, I would go to every day. I work
That's
outside,
good.
so my chest was squeezed every day for maybe about a good minute. I was like, oh, I just work outside.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
just
little
outside.
hot. I'll ignore that.
So
No.
come to find out, I had these clogged arteries of just eating bad,
Yeah, because
working,
you're
some
on the
self care.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
huh?
you're on the go. You're going through the drive-through. You're not stopping for the salad. That's
Right.
a lot of moms too, and the soccer practice and the this practice. You got multiple kids. You're not cooking a meal during the week. So what are you doing? You're grabbing a bunch of crap.
So don't y'all forget, balance is important. Self care
It
is
is.
important. Family is
Yes,
important. Leadership is important.
absolutely.
Ministry is important. But you gotta work them all so that the scales stay balanced. I had an
Yes.
unbalanced scale for so long. I only knew one way. I'm gonna get them to
Right.
go to work, so I should be able to make it. You gotta have self care. Self care.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now, looking ahead.
Yeah.
Looking ahead. You done been through the journey. You done been in it a while. We're gonna keep putting this podcast out with the giving room. So looking ahead, what are your dreams for the giving room over the next 5 years? I always tell
Well,
people anything you
yes.
do is in a 5 year span because them first 2 years of like you talking about now, those when the heartaches come, those when the headaches come, those when the people say you can't do it.
Right. I want to be able to have a bunch of the giving room little closets in the areas that I can't get to that are too far for me to drive to. I want to have little closets in all the little communities throughout Houston that I can't reach, but people can reach for me under the giving room. So that way we're servicing that area. Even though I personally I'm not going there, but I have people there. You need help, just go to them and they'll help you. I want to be able to have, like I said earlier, a building where downstairs is the giving room store. Go down the hall, you can get um, therapy, you can get, parenting classes, you can learn how to fix your credit or just balance or just have how to get a checking account because a lot of these kids don't know how to do that. So,
Yeah,
I want like a one-stop shop where it's like a resource. So it's like the Boys and Girls Club, but it's like for moms, for the kids, have a safe space where moms can come and the kids could play and she's getting her hair done or, just one good place where everybody feels comfortable coming. They know when they go there, it's a safe space. They don't have to worry about, oh, is my neighbor going to see me? I'm going to be embarrassed. No, you coming here, you're getting help, and nobody cares because everybody
yeah.
here has had help or has needed it in the past. So that I just and I want to just keep it going so my grandkids, when I'm older, they, I can look back and say, remember that first day we drove to that really ugly hood? My granddaughter's seen some stuff.
Yeah, Jazz, that's wonderful. That's great. That's what's needed. So
Yeah.
you're touching on some areas that's needed because
Yes.
that's what we don't have.
Hmm.
We don't have where people can just go let the kids go play, enjoy yourself. So that's a great mission. Again, y'all, it's the giving room. It's the giving room. We just started in Houston, but it can be in your area. You got to reach out. The giving room. The giving room. Again, what projects or goals are you most excited about? We know you're excited about helping the people. What other projects are you excited about along with that goal, like you just said, of having a one-stop shop? I remember them days of having a one-stop detail shop. I wanted the beauty salon, the barber
Yeah.
shop, and the car wash all in one building.
Yeah. I want to just for the next couple of months, my actual goal is to get a space, get in somewhere where, they can just come to us. It'll make it easier. We don't have to go places, but just, and, do events while we're there and do community events. I did one last week with my friend for her son who's autistic. I want to do my first event. Like I want to be able to get vendors and just have all the things, and have everybody just come there, have a good time. I look forward to my first gala. You know what I mean? Where we're like raising 50K instead I'm trying to raise five. Then because I see it all the time. I see other people doing what I'm doing. They have a lot of years on me, but it gives me hope because I'm like, wow, that could be me. I'm gonna have my gala and we're gonna be raffling off $50,000 whatever's.
Hey, you hit it in the right way, Jazz, because let me tell you a story that didn't make sense. I started like you, like I shared. I was nominated for the Steve Harvey Best Car Wash Detail Shop 3 years in a row. So I had that
Nice.
same vision you had. I knew I was the best. I needed something to show people I need to get that. And we
Right.
praying for you to get that building. We praying for the giving room to be all
Thank
it
you.
be. But don't ever stop. Keep the dream going. Keep sharing. Keep getting on these
Absolutely.
podcasts because there's people out there that got closets that need cleaned out. But
Yes.
that's you got the right mindset. You got the right attitude. That's why we ask some of the tough questions so that you be excited about other goals. I tell people
Absolutely.
I started cleaning cars. I do podcasts. I was a minister in the United Methodist and the AME. But I tell people I'm about helping people. I don't get
Right.
caught up in titles. I'm about
Mm-mm.
people because somewhere like you're sharing and like you see people everywhere need help. You can never count no one out. I tell
Never.
people all the time, Michael Jordan got cut from the basketball team. So you can get different stories, but you don't
Oh
get the
yeah.
real authentic stories if we never share them. So
Right.
thank you so much for that. Our last question looking ahead.
Okay.
If you had unlimited resources, what would you build? Somebody's
Wow.
out there trying to see what the giving room, if they had unlimited resources, they trying to help all the family. They trying to have a one-stop shop.
Well,
Other
I
than
would
the
have
boxes that you're gonna have around Houston where people can
I will
donate and
have my yes, I will have my building. I will have those in different parts of Houston. I will have them everywhere. I want to have them just not in Houston. I would love to merge out to San Antonio. I would love to be in Dallas. I just want if I would love to have a bunch of vans where we can deliver. If we don't have the little closets people doing it, well, we can have our own vans going and delivering from wherever we are. Just have like a fleet of vans and just delivering, or even delivering and doing haircuts at the same time, or just there's so much you can do. I always tell my husband, if we win the lotto, we will be so good. He goes, I'll give it away. I'm like, no, the amount of good we could do with money, and he's like, that's problems. I'm like, no, I know how to help people. I will spend that money the right way.
that's it. Okay, that's it. That's it. Resources. I know you
Yes.
got them closets out there. That's a
Yep.
start with resources. She don't need to start big. She just needs you to clean the closet out, and we'll get to the.
Exactly.
We're
Just
trying to
a
get the
bag at a
building first.
time.
You clean your closet out, she'll get to the building part. So that's
Yep.
great. That's a great segment. Again, y'all, it's the giving room. The details coming soon. We got one more setting as we get about the closing. As we think about everybody that's been listening, everybody's going to listen to this podcast later on. Everybody's going to listen to it on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If someone listening wanted to help, what's the best way they can get involved?
Well, it just depends on how they want to help. On our website, we have all the ways you can help, whether you want to be a donor of clothing, a donor of financial. We have our Zephy, we have our links on there. If anybody requires help, like we have all our forms on our website. So the best way to just see what the giving room is, or if you want to help in any way, the best bet is to go to our website and everything is there. And there's phone numbers. I'm super easy to get a hold of.
What message would you let? What message would you like for every listener to remember today about your story, about the giving room? What message would you like for everyone listening to remember?
That it doesn't take someone with a degree or 25 years working at a company. It can be me who's raised kids for 30 something years, who just has the love to help. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to be have all these degrees. If you have a heart for giving, and you want to do it, you can do it. There's nothing holding you back. It's literally social media and talking to people. Money stuff comes later, but if you want to make a difference in somebody's life, I helped that woman and her daughter without a dime. Everybody donated and everybody came together. The community is the biggest resource. People talking to people. You talk to this one, you talk to your neighbor, oh, I heard of this one, or, just speaking on this subject, making it so that it's not such a big deal. It's not taboo. Oh, you're going through a hard time. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going through a hard time because gas is almost $4. That's just life. It happens.
Yeah.
So just we got to just keep talking and just making it so that people aren't ashamed, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to everybody.
Yes. Last question, Jazz. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to share? Is there anything that you would like to share that we haven't touched on? Don't forget to give everybody your website, the email
Yes.
along with that so they can get it and then you send it to me. I'll attach it to this link.
Yeah, honestly, just if you go and just like our social media pages and just stay connected with us. So when we have events or anything like that, we are in the community helping people. And, I just want everybody to just go to the giving room, and you don't have to pay monetary. If you just like a post, you don't have to live in Houston. You can live anywhere. Just you see our stuff, share it, because we're trying to grow. The more we grow, the more people we can help. So that's all I pretty much ask is just, like a post, share a post, talk about the giving room with your friends, because you just never know who's in need. They may not tell you right then, but when they go home, they may go and Google the giving room and then get help through us. So you just gotta keep the conversation going.
I said I need everyone to write down, get a pen. I'm gonna give you a minute to get the pen. But while you're looking for the pen, the more we grow, the more we help. Now you
Yes.
got that pen. Need you write down the giving room. The giving room. Go check it out. The giving room. Check it out for yourself. Our last question, Jazz. If you could leave our listeners with one piece of hope, of encouragement that could change someone's life today, what would it be?
Encouragement. Just, I guess, just, not to be afraid. Not to be afraid and just be vulnerable. If, you're the type of person who doesn't want to speak with anyone because you have pride, find somebody. There's always somebody you can talk to that will help you in your situation. Just don't keep it in, and don't, just there's always someone who can help you. And if it's a stranger, it's probably better than family.
So y'all heard it first by Jazz. Don't forget, if you got that pen, if you was late getting it, it's the giving room
Yes.
where compassion meets community. That don't get no better than that, team. We're talking about the
Thank
community. We're
you.
talking about them closets. Please make sure you clean them out. We're gonna let y'all go out with this. Stand by for 1 minute.
Real people, nothing hidden, nothing fake. Real conversation, real redemption, testimonies of grace. Real stories, real people, faith that carried them through. When God turns a life around, He can make a way for you. Every story has a purpose. Every voice can speak the truth. Real stories,